go. Oh,
There you go.
Here it is.
Yep.
okay.
There it is.
It
I
was
can see it.
recording when I first went on. I swear Zoom is like the glitchiest thing ever.
Yeah.
Except for Apple. You know how I feel about everything. But so how's everybody's day? What's going on?
Okay. Sharon, have you been writing?
Oh,
Oh, you're on
muted.
mute, sweetie. Everyone, that's
That's
the term of the 19
the
2020.
catchphrase for 2020.
You're on mute.
You're still on mute.
Yeah, you're still on mute, hon.
Ah, better.
You are.
There you go.
Yay.
Yeah, I just finished Tides of Blue, the Sea Glass novel, and now I'm working on. I just submitted that, so fingers crossed. And I'm working on my next one. So yeah, how about you?
Where'd you submit it?
To Tara.
I've got it on my Kindle waiting to be read.
Oh,
But I've got 2 in line before you. So, but I'm
Yeah.
almost done with the 1. So
I'm very patient.
good because it's just I'm overloaded.
I'm sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's exciting. I want to read it. I have a funny story to tell. In my novel is based a lot on my home life here, right? A lot of it on my mother-in-law, and I just love her. And she's the quirkiest person. And she brought home yesterday, she must have given money to some charity, like $20 or something like that. And they send her all these envelopes. And I came in the kitchen for dinner yesterday, and she's looking at one of them. She's like, look, it's this kid from Peru.
Oh.
He has one arm. Yeah. She's like, he has one arm. His whole school was thrown down in a mudslide. And then my father-in-law takes the card and keeps reading. And he's like, yeah, now he's living in an orphanage. And I'm like, look, they're trying to get your money. That's all they're doing. I feel like it belongs in the book, Tara. I feel like now I need to revise even more.
Oh yes.
As soon as she said he has one arm, I'm
Oh my God.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
To have the grandparents, I would love to see that.
They're too much. They're just too much. Oh my God, it's so funny. And I said, I bet you people who give to this stuff are 65 or older.
Oh yeah.
I said, they trick you guys. They've been tricked before, which is not funny, actually. So I'm like, you guys need to.
I'm taking care of my 92-year-old aunt stuff, and all of her mail is forwarded to me. So I get stacks of these, and she has given probably thousands of dollars, over the years to all these places, especially animals. And then as December rolled through, it was like, we're counting on you. We're still waiting for your check.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So you're in charge of all that? What madness. And they do Publishers Clearinghouse too. So there's that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
What's funny is I just turned 58, and now I'm starting to remember all the evil things that I did to my parents that I've blocked out all these years.
Oh, and you said in your book you dedicated to your dad, right? You were a much better father than I was a son.
He absolutely. But I mean, I'm so glad that I'm mature enough now when I remember all these horrible things, because I would have, it was just, I remembered something today. It came to me and I hadn't thought of it in 30 years. And I was telling my son about it. I was about 17, 18 years old. I was on the phone. Remember when you had the long cord and you would take the phone and you'd be talking to your friends? So I'm on the long cord of the phone, and I'm on the dining room table, and my mother's checkbook is there. And I'm talking and I'm flipping through my mother's checkbook, and it's a brand new checkbook. And I flip through about 3, and the memo section in the checkbook. So I write 4 sexual favors in the memo section. And then I went through 3 more and did 4 sexual favors and went through, I did the entire checkbook. So when my mother wrote the check, the Big M grocery, the memo said 4 sexual favors. I did the entire book, blocked it out. She never caught it. No one ever called her on the, and I've lived to 58 years before the guilt has finally fallen on me.
Oh my God.
And my mother's gone, so I can't even apologize because it doesn't. Yeah. So now I got that.
Oh, it would make it so much worse. That's one of those things you just can't tell, because then she'd be humiliated. She'd be like, "Oh my God, someone saw it."
Every 3rd check is what I just want something to do while I was.
Oh, Everett. Oh my gosh, what a crazy one you were.
That's a great story, though.
It's a great story that
Yeah.
needs to go in a story.
No, it's a great story to listen. It's not the great story to have
To live.
for the guilt, but it's a great story to listen to. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The one that I just had published that I posted on Facebook, this was my mother-in-law too. This was in,
Yeah, I still have
yeah, I'll tell you the
your
basis
email
of it
sitting
though.
there. I keep forgetting.
It's okay. In quarantine, she sent money to someone and they sent her a thing of Padre Pio oil, like
Okay.
like a
Oil.
saint, you know,
Right.
he's a saint. And so I think he's a saint of stress relief even. So for some reason,
We all
my
need that.
mother-in-law, she put it during COVID. It was very bad for her because she was locked in a house. They couldn't, they could go into the casino. So she couldn't go to the casino. My father-in-law wouldn't take her to even get coffee at McDonald's. And it was really, really, her sisters were getting sick. So she took some of the oil and put it on her hands and put it like on her face like that. And it burned her face.
No.
No.
It burnt, I'm talking big time, like bright red. And that's what happens in the story. And holy oil, this woman puts it on her, but it's for other reasons. Like it's not COVID, it's nothing. I fictionalized that piece.
Is your mother-in-law a demon by any? Because demons react to holy oil. Do you know he's a demon?
My father-in-law?
Oh well, I mean either one. I mean, can they see reflections? Can they? You may want to test this out.
That's a vampire, I think.
Put some
vampire.
oil, put some
Vampire.
garlic.
You go garlic. I would check the reflection. I would check garlic,
Oh my God.
and then I would check the
She-
demon. The demon.
She's
they
such
have
a
a
good
shadow.
woman. Yeah, right? Can I see? That's funny. Yeah, but I'm telling you, that she has provided more fodder for my fictional life than anybody else in this world. Yeah, and she's a gem. She's just such a good person. She really is. She doesn't have a bad thing to say about anybody.
Mm.
I know. It's a rarity.
So
It's
is
where
this
there are
book
days where I
coming
feel like
out?
I have nothing but bad to say. You know what I mean? I just have to like keep to myself because I'm so, you know.
What were you asking, Sharon? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was asking where this book was. Is it
Oh,
at-
it's a short story. It's on a website called The Ethicist. It's new.
Let me let me go to my email because I have the link.
Yeah, it's a short, it's like, and what I'm trying to do is so that work can get into journals more. I'm practicing writing shorter pieces. My short stories tend to be around between 4 and 5,000 words.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get them to like 2,500 or under, and it's really hard to do. Really, really hard to do. Some stories just won't take it. Like I'm writing one now about a nun, and it's not going to give itself to that because it takes place over time. So, and I'm reading my friend. I told her I was writing about a nun, and she said, "Oh, there's this novel by Alice McDermott called The Ninth Hour." So I pulled it from the library. Have any of you read her? I'm like only 2 pages in. I had never heard of her, but
I think I read something by her years ago, but I don't remember.
years ago. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check her out. I only read a few pages. I fell asleep because I was so tired reading, but it's not because of her writing. Her writing is really good. So yeah,
But you started reading the book club book.
I've read it like a few times
Yeah,
already.
I read it, but it's been a couple of years, so I read it from the library. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy my own copy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the first story in there, I love it so much that I actually like outlined it, like
Wow.
to see how she did it,
Mhm.
how she works her way through. Because that's one of the best stories I've ever read. That pharmacy story, the first story in the book.
It's been so long.
one of the
I
best
gotta
I've
start
ever
reading again. I just love her stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna reread.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
I'll reread a good part of it, but I know them really well. Overall, I really like her. She and Jhumpa Lahiri and William Trevor, they're the short story masters, those 3. They're
Short stories
incredible.
are mastery.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's
Tom
hard to do.
Hanks had a book, and the only problem is I question the legitimacy of it. Tom Hanks had a book of short stories that came out probably a couple of years ago, and it was phenomenal. I mean,
Really?
phenomenal. So
Wow.
much so that I start to wonder, really, you wrote all? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just so, and I think it's something about type. in each short story, there's a typewriter. A typewriter plays a part in each short story. He's a typewriter sort of freak. He
Yeah.
collects all of them, the old manual typewriters. So a
Oh, wow.
typewriter plays a part in every short story.
Mm-hmm.
But they are phenomenal. And the only part of me that just
Wow.
goes, wait, you're an Oscar-winning actor and the most incredible short story author I've ever come across. That's the
Right.
only
Oh,
I ripped through it. I think they were amazing.
yeah.
Uncommon type.
Uncommon type.
Some stories. I wondered about that. Yeah.
It's really, really good. There's one that I think said twice, it might be in 3 times, that I think was one of the weaker ones. But and so he actually extends it at least twice, and I really didn't connect with those, but the other ones I just thought were amazing.
Wow. That's really amazing.
Well, remember that maybe for like a book club,
Yeah, it's a great,
because we're having trouble
it's
finding
just-
things that everybody likes,
Yeah, it's a
Right.
great
And
book.
shorter, I've learned from a book club. I was part of one for a couple of years. And I found that the longer books, like, with that King one, even if they're good, they're long. And it's kind of like people lose steam like while you're waiting. And sometimes you have to wait extra time to do it. The shorter ones are good. They tend to work better. And short stories could be good. There's a lot of, there's so much out there. I think we could agree on.
So far, we have not been lucky with the things we've picked. Like nobody,
Really?
like I don't think we've had any that everybody liked.
Mm.
We've had a couple that somebody liked, or a couple people. We've had a lot that everybody hated.
Mm.
So yeah, we haven't been doing well. So
And how big is your group in general?
it's I'd say maybe it depends on the week. I think the most we've ever had was like 7 at any given
Okay.
time. I mean,
Okay.
I'd say it's usually more like this, like 4 or 5 who
Yeah.
come,
Yeah.
That's the thing. You never know who's going to come though, because it's open to the public. Like the one night, like our second meeting, I think it was, somebody just randomly showed up and she said she had been on Facebook and was doing a search for, it was when we read Where the Crawdads Sing. And she had typed in Where the Crawdads Sing, and it popped up Facebook. And I think she put that in like New Jersey or something, and our
Oh.
club popped up. So, and it was open to the public. So she just came on, and she's come a few times since then. So it's
Oh.
nice.
Yeah.
It's because we thought she hated it because she was saying, this is not at all what I expected. And so we're like, oh man, she hates us. But then the next morning, I had a request on the Facebook book club group that she wanted to join. And then she's been a few times since. So
And
yeah,
how
so
did that book go over? Did you guys not like that one?
I'd say half and half. Half loved
and
it, half hated it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's all over the place, that book. So I
Yeah,
was just
I
wondering.
mean, I thought, I didn't think it was horrible, but I thought that it's kind of like a symbol of what's wrong with publishing today. Like it was clearly not edited at all. I mean, there were so many holes that nobody bothered to fill. It could, and like, I think my argument was it could have been a great book if somebody had just done a little editing and a little revising. It could have been brilliant, but instead it was, here's mediocre, here's this. And somehow it's selling millions of copies, and that bothers me because
it checked all the boxes. I mean, it checked the uneducated woman and the abusive husband, and I mean, it checked all those boxes. And then, I mean, you could have just given that outline and filled in the blank, and I think the mainstream public would have devoured it.
Yeah, it struck a chord.
Yeah, exactly. It just, I mean, I just, it makes me mad though that they can have so much success when they did it so badly, and they could have, it would have been so easy to do it so brilliantly. You know what I mean? It was this close to, it was like right on that line where you either go terrible or great. And instead of going to the great, which would have been so easy to do, they just were so lazy and went to terrible, in my opinion.
And yet they sold all these copies,
and
right?
yet they sell all these copies, where we work our butts off to try to make the books great, and we're barely selling any copies. And that makes me very angry.
The continuity issues bothered me.
Yeah.
She couldn't read, she couldn't write. The one guy teaches her, on the side of the river, and then 2 years later she's writing college level.
Doctoral level science.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
That bothered me.
There's a lot that
I like
bothered
the
me.
I would
naturalist.
imagine.
I enjoyed the naturalist. pieces in the language.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if there, yeah, it was just like they didn't do. They could have done so much to make you suspend that disbelief, and I feel like they just missed it in so many ways. Like a good editor could have made that book amazing, and even I, the nitpicky one who's always finding fault with everything, I could have said it was great if just a couple of things were changed.
And you know what's interesting about that you just said, you know, you like the naturalist stuff. I think if there's a book that you have no interest in that subject, it can make you be fascinated with it. I read a book 100 years ago, and it was called, and a great title, "This Bloody Mary is the Last Thing I Own." And it was about a guy, it was about a boxing promoter. And I don't know anything about boxing, and I don't know anything about boxing, the history of it, but it made me care about boxing because the person was just going through it. So I think, you know, the naturalist stuff, I think was all, I mean, it didn't draw me in enough, I think, with that stuff, because I really didn't care. But I know from other books that if you do, I can be a fanatic about it if you draw me in more.
Right. Yeah.
That was the only part of the book that I really did like. I liked, but I didn't believe, I didn't believe it, but I liked it because I like that kind of stuff. I like the, you know, the science and the naturalists.
And that was hard with the continuity part too, because you're going, oh, you know the Latin name for all these things? How do you know
you've never
the
used
Latin
a phone, but you know the Latin name for,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, but that was, yeah. I actually like it. Yeah, it could have been terrific, but I don't. But that's, I mean, I find that with almost every book these days. It's like the editing is, or the lack of editing is, it's so frustrating because they're taking books that could be great and just, if they're even hit mediocre, that's saying something. I don't know. It's we're in a sorry state of affairs in publishing these days. That's,
you know, I got a bunch of nonfiction books for Christmas, and the two that I've read have just been phenomenal. I mean,
oh yeah, were those the ones you put on Facebook? Like you put a picture of them on Facebook?
Yep.
Well, what? Yeah. I'm hardly ever on there anymore. What was it? What were they?
Well, the one was about Bernie Madoff, but it was written so well. I mean, it was just so, it got into, that was my thought, but it really took you on the family and the whole thing so well. And then the one I'm finishing up now that's huge, it's about Chernobyl. And I don't know anything about Chernobyl, but what's really interesting is you think, I'm about a quarter way in, and you think, oh, this horrible thing happened. This thing was a disaster. I mean, this was the Soviet Union. And when they said, hey, I need 50,000 tons, you know, of protective concrete. And they go, you can have 5. Oh, okay. I need this protective barrier. No, they don't make that. And no, you can have this. I mean, it was just it, but it takes it through the creation of it as well as the bureaucracy of the Soviet Union. This thing was doomed.
Right. And what year was that? Chernobyl, was that 86 or was
80,
around 86, 87?
It was 86 because that's how I remember that radon is 86 on the periodic table, because I think of radon is really deadly and Chernobyl was really deadly.
Look at that. That's a good mnemonic device.
It's still
the entire periodic table.
Yeah. My son and my husband are watching The Secret Life of Bees right now, which is like a sort of chick flick. My son had to read it for school and loved it. Who knew? Who knew he would like it? I loved it. I read it when he was just born, interestingly, 16 years ago. 16 years ago, I read it. And
is it really that long? Because I read it back when it first came out.
Yeah, it came out, I think, 2002-ish.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But like I started rereading because he had it on the dining room table. I'm like, wow, this is good writing right here. She's a good writer. She really is. But I'm surprised he liked it, because usually the boys don't like a female-centered novel. They tend not to do that.
And they always seem to choose female-centered novels for the reading lists. I don't know if that's because the majority of the English teachers are female or not, but my son always complained about that. And I thought, you know, there are so many good books out there to read. And I remember he had read Amy Tan, and he read The Bean Trees, and, you know, Barbara Kingsolver. And I was like loving it because I read along with him.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Jim. That's
Everyone.
interesting because a lot of the books I read as a kid and others there, it's Gatsby,
Right.
Of
Yeah,
Mice
it's
and
about time the
Men.
women get their
You know,
turn.
it's a lot of, I know what you're saying, Sharon, I know, like those have come up more recently,
Yeah,
but
I'm
all the other ones, I mean, I read Mockingbird, there's,
Right.
Little Scout,
Right.
but most of them were really male centered, like the
Oh, I
the
agree.
better ones were,
Yeah,
like,
he was complaining about that. I loved reading them
yes,
along with him. But
yes,
he was saying, "Mom," that was a long
yes.
time ago. So, hey, I have to scoot off. I'm teaching tonight in just a few minutes and 15
Oh, okay,
I have to get on, but I wanted to say hi and
yeah,
jump
nice
in.
to
I
see you.
apologize. Nice to see
Nice
everyone.
meeting you, Sharon.
Nice meeting you too. Hi and bye, Jim. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing DNA tonight. Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh
fun.
boy,
Oh boy.
Enjoy.
So I
take care, Sharon.
practice my vocabulary saying eukaryote. I have to go look it up again. All the different things. But take care. All right. Good
Good
to see
night. Have
everyone.
fun.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Oh.
Find it interesting, Jim, that she left the minute you got here.
Yeah, right.
Was it something I said? Was it the way
Just
I
saying,
looked? Yeah.
she was talking, she was engaged, she looks over and she goes, I've got to teach.
I gotta go. Yeah, that was it,
I
Jim.
tell ya, I thought I was being friendly. I don't know.
Congrats on your poems. I saw on Facebook you posted you got poems you're getting published. That's
Oh,
awesome.
thanks. Thanks. Yeah, it's something. I'm starting to get my stuff more out there, but I appreciate that. I'm going to be sharing some of the poems through my blog shortly because
Nice.
I just got word that I have full rights to the poems. So
Oh, that'd be great. I'd like your blog address. And
yeah,
Put it in the chat.
how
What's
do
that?
you go ahead, Tara, what?
Put your web thing in the chat.
Oh,
for
in the
everybody,
chat.
and then we can share
Yep.
it. I
Yep.
just heard
Well, I
you.
haven't put it out there yet.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Oh, not yet.
I-
Okay, but when you do.
Well, yeah, when I do, there's the blog. I just relaunched it. Actually, it was offline for a couple of years, but I just relaunched it recently. So I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff there. But thanks. Yeah, it's fun. It's gratifying to see your stuff in print.
So when you send stuff out, how do you know, like, where do you find stuff to send it? Because I go through Duotrope and I go through Submittable. Where do you go through?
Well, Duotrope I've been using a lot recently. I don't so much submit through there, but I find, open markets and who's looking and so forth. I find that's a good source.
What's the source? Open
Duotrope.
market.
Duotrope.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Just on Duotrope. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Duotrope.
use that too.
And then on Facebook, what is it that comes through? I'm on something that I see. It's really a fantastic resource. It shows open, journals that are looking and so forth. I got to find it. I'll see if I can find it and let you guys while we're talking here. But I often find really good tips there, where to go to, who's looking, who's open, theme-based issues like this one. That's where I found this one. It's a theme-based collection. It was perfect for me because I like to write about childhood and nature. And let me see if I can find that. I'm gonna look around while I'm talking to you guys.
Okay, thanks. Because I know of those two places I go to send them.
Where do you go?
Through Submittable, they have a feature. Submittable is really just an online submission manager, but when you're in there, they have on the upper left a feature called Discover. And they list all these magazines that are looking for stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then you can also filter it by who charges you. Because a lot of them charge $3 to submit. They charge like $3. And then Duotrope tells you also, because you know that you use that already. So you know that.
Yeah. I'm just looking for the other one that I use.
So that's your blog, peaceableman.com. That's your website. That's a nice title.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, actually, I was really bummed. I shouldn't have let it lapse because it was starting to get not a lot. It was starting to get some good SEO, search engine optimization, and like if you typed in Google a Peaceable Man, it came up like number 2. but I just didn't have the time with my job. So I'm hoping to, get back out there some more.
Yeah. Yeah. And Everett, you have 2 kids, right?
I have two sons. Yep.
Yeah. Do they write?
My oldest actually is very, very creative. He was in a lot of actually he was in every play that I wrote that we produced. He was in it. Tara was there when we did the documentary. He co-directed it with me when we did it in Binghamton, and we did it at the Bundy Theater. So he's very, very creative. The flip side, I mean, he has the things that I don't have. So we've done a lot of projects. We were talking the other day, and I was saying that I remember he and I were going on stage one time, and I remember thinking, I'm going on stage with my son. And I thought, what a great line.
Yeah.
And when I'm an old man and I've got 3 minutes to live, I'm going to remember that line. I'm about to go on stage with my son. So
put it in one sentence of the day, or
Yeah.
one sentence of the day, it goes in.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right before I take my last breath. That's it. Because that's just what else do you have after that? I'm going on
That's
stage.
right.
with my
Right.
son.
That's
And
right. That's awesome.
he was in all of, I think every single one, but we had key roles together, I think in 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But that was that was a lot of fun. What's funny is you're talking about, we're talking about, SEO and that stuff is just black magic to me, because I was actually watching the documentary, Tara, the one that you were at. And that's when you write something and then you look at it like a year later and you go, holy cow, that's actually really good. But then you go, only 1,000 people have watched this in a year and a half. Only 1,000 people have watched this. I mean, we had drone photography. We had, I mean, it was incredible, the stuff that was there. I mean, Tara, you were there.
It was amazing.
Only 1,000, because I don't know how all that algorithm stuff works, and it's amazing that only 1,000 people have watched it.
What is it? The documentary?
The documentary is about Binghamton. We used the book. We took the 4th book, The Invention of Everything, and we took a lot of the footage from the events that we did in Binghamton, and then we did a documentary called Binghamton Valley of Creativity. So we used that as a framing device, and we interviewed poets, and we interviewed a lady that does mosaics, and then we interviewed a director. We interviewed a guy that chose to live in Binghamton, New York, and he did all the sets for King Kong.
Wow.
And he lives in Binghamton, New York. So we did all these interviews, and then we just sort of framed it together. And and so many people were involved, and they just volunteered. I mean, the photography, and the people that were there on the film crew. We had a still photographer. I mean, they were just incredible. And it's just amazing. You look at that, and it's been a year and a half, and it just, because you don't know the magic, algorithms, it's a shame that it never really took off.
It's hard.
I mean, when we released it, it was packed. I mean, there wasn't a seat to be had.
The theater was packed when we had the premiere. It was great. I mean, that's the thing though with the SEO though. I mean, Brian and I used to have to do it for his clients, and we were, and it's not hard. It's time consuming. And if nobody's paying you to do it, it's just a lot to do if you don't have a real motive, you know what I mean? And like, you don't have a real motive to get a million people to watch, you know what I mean? Like, as nice as that would be, you're not getting anything from it. So does it pay to spend 8 hours a day really killing yourself trying to figure out what the magic is? I mean, it's not magic. It's just dealing with it lots of hours a day, you know what I mean? But it just, it's not.
Hey guys, I just invited all 3 of you to this. I found it. It's on Facebook. It's called 4 Authors Call for Submissions.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all about, open call for submissions. So I guess this person, Rory Trevathan, whatever, it's a private group. He does this all on his own, or her, I don't know if it's, but I mean, it's really nice.
Oh, that's good. Thanks.
That's where I found out about this one, the poet.
Oh, maybe I can can we post something in there if we have a call for submissions? Because we are desperate.
Absolutely.
Because we still
the whole
don't have
idea.
enough. We still don't have enough stuff for the Blydyn Square review.
Oh
We
yeah,
only have-
that's
We only
definitely-
have like 46 pages of content, and I want at least 100 for the first issue.
When are you launching that?
It depends on when we have 100 pages of content. Right now, we've got 46 pages, and it's yeah, and obviously, like, now that, like, we had put an ad in Poets and Writers, and we were getting a lot of submissions for a while there, but now we're not getting as many because obviously they've moved on to the next issue. And we still, I mean, I think we've accepted 8 or 9 submissions, and we've received hundreds. So yeah, they're not great.
Yeah.
They haven't been great.
Yeah, right. Another
I
thought
know.
is what, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say another thought that what a lot of these literary journals do is they run excerpts from novels in progress. You
Yeah, I'm thinking that if we don't get enough stuff, the idea was we wanted to try to do serialize a novel a year in the thing, like, because nobody does it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm like, hey, it worked for Dickens. It's gonna work. It could work for us. So if it comes down to it, I'll pull something that we have in the works, maybe, and then maybe I can do 50 pages of the novel, and that'll bring us to 100 if need be. I was kind of hoping to start that the second issue, but yeah, I'm gonna give it until like I think till like the end of February, and if we don't have enough pages, then that's what I'll do. But yeah, but maybe this group, maybe I can put, if I post a submission call, then maybe we'll get some more, because yeah, it's not where it's like, I'm sure Everett, Debbie has told you some of the stuff. It just,
I've heard some. Yeah.
it's a lot of it is just crazy.
So without going down a rat hole here, would the submissions be just as bad in 1990 or 1985 or 1975? Why is that?
Because self-publishing has made everybody think everybody can write. And everybody think, like, everybody always thought they could write, but the thing is, now they know if they get rejected, they can just say, well, they don't know what they're talking about, I'm just going to publish myself. And that has completely changed the entire playing field. Like, back in, 30 years ago, if you were submitting and people were rejecting you, you're like, oh shit, pardon my French, right, but maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to work on this. Maybe I need to work on my craft. Now, if you're sending stuff and it's getting rejected and nobody's accepting it, you're saying, well, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm great, and therefore I'm just going to self-publish. And it's a whole different mindset, like, because there is that option, and it's free, by the way. You know what I mean? It has changed everything. Yeah. Now people say, oh, they just don't know what they're talking about. And I can see, I mean, in the 25 years I've been doing this, it has been a steady decline in the quality. Like, back 30 years ago or 25 years ago when I started, I would never have received the kind of stuff I get now. I mean, they would have, exhaustively revised until it was as perfect as they could possibly get it before they would even think about sending it to a publisher. And now they're literally sending me they're sending me stuff. They're saying, oh, the book's not done yet, but I think you'll want it. Right. And I'm going, if it's not done yet, don't even think about contacting me. What is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, you have to have it professionally edited now. It's a whole different world. We can't afford to do the work like we could 30 years ago. I mean, there's just too much, because self-publishing has destroyed the market. We can't afford to do what we used to do.
But here's the thing, if those pieces suck, right, and people put it out as their, self-publish, I mean, there is a quality control, right? Like, how are they selling copies if they suck?
They're not. What they're doing, though, is a lot of these people, what they do is every time they get a new Twitter follower, they instant message that person with an attachment of their PDF book, and then they declare that a sale. So they say I'm a best-selling author. I've sold 1,000 copies or whatever. What they've really done is given away 1,000 copies. And there's also a very serious, basically a cult going on within self-publishing where it's I'll buy yours if you buy mine. And that's why they're always giving them away for free so that they can say, okay, I sold 800 copies. But what they really did was trade 800 free copies.
Got it. Got it.
But they can both still say, hey, I sold 800 copies. And it's not true. But, you know, but that's how they're not selling any. Most of them. There are exceptions. Yes, there are people out there who are selling some. And there are exceptions. There are self-published. I'm sure there are some out there that are actually good. I've never seen one, but it could be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's an exception to every rule, but.
For the Blydyn Square review, is that going to be electronic?
Yes. I mean, at least for now.
Yeah. It's better to be electronic, I think. People
it's not worth doing the print version unless if we had like, you know, 20,000 subscribers who were all going, we want hard copy. Maybe I'd consider it, but right now we have one subscriber. And
yeah, well, I like that if it's available online, it's so much more accessible, like to people's families and friends. They don't have to buy something, you know. It's really nice that way. I think like that's one thing I've learned about being published is that I like it when my family can read it as opposed to just when it's in the you know, copy there, hard copy. So that'll be good. And then it'll be available on the website. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's going to be, well, we're thinking down the line, if it gets a big enough audience, we would create its own website. But for now, we had our web people design just a separate section of our website, and it's going to be password protected. So you can't just randomly go on, but yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
So,
I should send something. So is it BlydynSquareReview.com? Is that your is that your email?
I have to look because I don't know.
I'll ask you. I'll email you, and then you can email me back.
Email me because I don't want to put it.
Because I pulled the story I had sent. I pulled it. Yeah. Because it was going to be maybe published in another magazine. It didn't work out there, but that's why I pulled it. So.
It's weird. Like part of me wants to ask you guys to write stuff, but then I'm like, I shouldn't because like, what if it didn't work out? You know what I mean? It would just be so
yeah,
awkward,
no.
You know?
I'll send it. I want to send something, so I'll send something, and it's anonymous, which is good because that way you don't have to feel bad if it's rejected.
I don't look at it. They all go to either Debbie or my mom, and like and then they just send me. They write back, and then they send things, and then they send us if there's something that they like, they send. You know, but
got it. Got it.
Like my mom was reading that but my mom just suddenly stopped reading for like, I had like a 3 weeks worth of ones I sent to her and she'd never read them. So I gotta check and see what happened there. Cause like Debbie's on the ball. Like if I send her something with like, sometimes it's like 10 minutes. Nope. Like it. Don't
that's funny.
But my mom is like doing them in chunks and it's just,
What amazes me sometimes, because I read for Narrative magazine, and you get their bio with it. So sometimes, like, I'll read these pieces, and I don't mean to sound like a snob, but they're not very good. But their bio says, like, so-and-so has been published in, and they list all these magazines. Or this guy was a playwright and had won an award. And I was like, what is this he's writing? It was so bad. And I was like, how are these people getting out there? You know, like, I'm not saying I'm amazing, but I was like, what is it?
The same thing happens with us. I mean, we get like, they'll say, oh, I've had, 4 books published, and you're just like, how? You have 3 misspellings in the first sentence, like, how did you get anybody to take this on? It's, I don't understand it.
What's funny is I just posted today a video on Rewiring Everett about this very same thing. And it's about, I spent a couple minutes talking about accolades, and I have that writing resume. I can tell you I was traditionally published in 1997. Then I had a follow-up. I was on CNN. I was on Fox News. I did that stuff. I wrote 7 plays that were all produced. You know,
Wow.
the novel won all these awards and was taught in schools and was all this. And the 4th book was a documentary. The whole point of this was it was easier for Everett to get published with no writing credentials in 1997 than it is for Everett to get published today.
Wow.
Much easier. I had a great idea in 1997. I said, this is how I want to do it. Here's my market. What do you think? And they said, we love it. I get rejected every single day.
Yeah.
And I have a solid writing resume, but the world has changed in the last 20 years.
Right. Well, ultimately too, I think it's about, and this isn't to say anything about your specific case, but it's about the quality of the writing, right? Like if they don't like what they see, then they're not.
I don't believe they're even reading it. I think
You don't think they read it?
No, I think it has
No,
to do with
I agree. I don't think the
platform.
agents, especially the agents, I
No.
don't think they read it at all.
No.
I think
no.
they
They don't.
only look at
What
your-
do they do?
They read
look
it.
at
It has to do with your
platform.
platform.
Look at your
It has to do with
platform.
how many people you can reach. I don't think they're ever reading it. I don't think they
I don't.
care.
Well, I think they read it if you have a platform and it says I've got 500,000 followers on Twitter, then I
That's
think
all
they
you
might
need.
read
That's
it.
it. Done.
But if you don't, like when they go to your site and see what 500 followers or whatever you've got, you know what I mean? Like they're like, oh nope, not even worth my
No.
time.
Yeah.
It-
Well,
and
I
it's
had an
really
agent
sad.
wrote me recently. An agent wrote me that because I had sent those out, those queries that I told you about last time, and she wrote, Val and Rachel's relationship sounds really good. However, the plot isn't pulling me in. I was like, wow, she actually read it.
Right.
She
Yeah.
actually read it
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
because the plot clearly wasn't for her, and that hurts me. But oh well, it is what it
But
is.
it's not going to be for everybody. Every book is not going to be for somebody, but that's nice to know that at least they're reading it.
Yeah,
Yep.
she read it.
Yeah, that's unusual. I
It
mean, and-
is.
and I'll completely admit that when I read submissions, if I read a whole page, that's being generous because I can usually tell after a paragraph.
Well, that's
if-
what they
if
as
they're any
well.
good.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to read a few, maybe 10 pages.
Because you can tell, and if you
Yeah,
haven't proven to me that you can write by page 1, you're not going to convince me on page 2, and I'm certainly not going to read 500 pages. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't have time. I'm not getting paid for that. You know what I mean? Nobody's getting paid for that anymore. That's
Right.
like,
There's
yeah,
so
it's
much
like-
volume out there.
right. That's the
more
thing.
people writing than there are reading.
Right.
And what's funny
Right.
is I've talked to many agents in the 90s, and they all had the same thing. They all said, absolutely, we take on many more projects than we think we can sell. They don't say that now. They only take on, if I don't believe I can sell it in a month, I'm not taking it on.
Well, I mean, they're busy too, and I can sort of understand it. It's a tough industry.
But they used to walk in with
Yeah.
their line card. Hey, what do you want? This. And then you got this extra stuff if they're not interested. But that's when you sat across a cubicle and you say, hey, I got some interesting projects. What do you think? Oh, I'll send you these. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. Now you've got to have that tight bundle of clients, and you got to be so sure that you can make because most of these,
Yeah.
actually, I think all literary agents are they're not salaried. They only make money if they sell the book. I mean, they might cover them
Wow.
for 6 months or a year, but if they're not, they don't have time to
That's right.
to build your career. They got to pay rent.
That's right. They don't.
That's right. Wow, that's sad.
That's how we are. I mean, it's like we don't have, I mean, all the submissions that we get every year, nobody's getting paid to read those. We only make any money if we sell a book. And we're, obviously those books, even if there's something we love in that pile, that book is not, that's at least 3, 4, or 5 years out in advance. You know what I mean? So there's no money coming in from that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't spend that much time search and like it really is looking for a needle in a haystack, and that haystack is covered in manure and that needle is
that's
very,
the title of your
small.
writing book right there.
That's right. The haystack is covered
The
with
haystack
manure.
is covered
Manure.
with
Tara Tomsic unpublished. Yes.
But it's
I feel
true.
so
I mean,
honored that you liked my book, though. That makes me feel so good because I remember meeting you at the Blydyn Square, not at the Blydyn Square, at
yeah,
the
the push to publish.
push
Yeah.
to publish. I was going to say Philadelphia Stories.
Yeah,
I feel so honored.
well, it's just, you
Wow.
have to realize it's like how many we get. You know what I mean? And it's just, we get so many. And even when there are ones I like, I'd say that there are times, there's probably, like, let's say we get 200 submissions a year. I'd say it really varies anywhere between 100 and 500, depending on the year. But let's just say 200 for a flat number. Of those, I would say I like approximately 5 to 10.
Really?
Of those, if I make an offer on 1 to 2, that's a lot, because there are a lot of times, like, there'll be something I like, but we'll say, we'll look at it and say, it's good, it's interesting, but I don't think we can sell it, because we know now, we're coming up on 6 years in publishing, in doing this now, and we know we can't, like, what we thought we could sell, we couldn't sell. You know what I mean? Like, we're nowhere near selling what we thought we would sell, So it's just a question of, like, if there's a novel that, it reminds me of Cecil's, which, obviously I loved when we signed it, but obviously it's by far one of our best-selling books, but just, I mean, it's like, I know I can't sell it. Until we figure out that magic equation is to, it's just not worth taking on anything new in that same vein. You know what I mean? Until we figure something out and start to sell something new. So at this point, we're looking more for things that are like your book, Christine, is more like, it has a definite, like, market with the whole sandwich generation thing. And that's a big thing that people are talking about. So we thought maybe that would be, a selling point. So, and it's
what's
different from
interesting
anything
about that too is the fact that it's a novel, but yet that could be part of your publicity, because if you speak about that topic and you go to areas that are going to that's where you really find, your tribe.
Right.
It's a good point.
Yeah. And like Jim's book will have a really obvious targeted market.
Yes.
And I think that's going to make a very big difference. I hope that's going to make a very big difference.
Yeah.
And plus
Especially
you've got locations set there, so you can promote through those locations, and you can do a lot of stuff like that.
Well, you also promote to the corporate audience. There are a lot of people work for big companies.
Right.
You can market to all the people who've lost their jobs at big companies, or we're going to about to be losing jobs at big companies, or young people who are, sort of trying to figure out their way in the world and have a bigger mission in their life and in their purpose than working for a big company, and also the self-help crowd and the enlightenment crowd and all that. So it has multiple angles that I'm going to attack with it from a marketing perspective. But you never know, like you said, Tara. You don't
when you
know.
do the first run, the first print run, how many do you print?
It
We were
totally
just talking
depends.
about that, Tara, weren't we?
Yeah, we were just talking about this today, actually. It depends. I mean, we had one book, our first 3 books, we only did 100 copies each because we had no money and it cost so much to print them that we figured, let's start small and work our way up. And like Everett's book sold those 100 copies within about a month. So
and I wanted to send out press releases that says on its second print run, but you wouldn't let me do it.
That's great. I love it.
well, we could have, but it would have been like, like, who cares? Like, they didn't care that the book was published. But then we had one book, we did a 3,000 copy print run.
Oh, I remember that was a mistake.
And that was a huge mistake. So at this point, it just, because it's so cheap, it's so easy and quick to reprint the book. Like, if we're running low on if we do 100 copies and we get down to 20 copies, it's going to
Yeah.
take 6 days max to get those another 100 or 200 or whatever
Oh,
we
that's
want
good to
in.
know.
So it's just not worth
Yeah.
spending, and we don't have a warehouse at this point. It's all stuck in my house. So it's just, if we
Yeah.
were to do a whole, so at this point we're doing at most a couple hundred. I think for Invention of Everything, I think we did three or 400 copies.
Three or four. I want to say 4. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're keeping it small, but then we reprint as we need. Like,
Yeah, because I think, like, for my book, which is, it's a little while, I know, but like, I work at a very big school. And if we had a book launch, like on a Friday, right at like around 3 o'clock, I think that I could get people to buy it. Like, I think that I could get friends to come right from work. There's
Those
a
are
Chimney Rock
huge.
Inn nearby. I think that that might be, there'd be a little pressure.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Well,
people-
that's what it takes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because that's what I was asking, because if you,
I'm sorry, go ahead. No. Go
oh,
ahead.
that you could have, like, if you had 100 copies, because I know when I went to Coralie's that you ran out of copies. Like, I think that if I'm gonna have, the launch there, if you have 100 copies on hand, that's not too big of a print run, because I didn't know, I'm new to this. So
well,
if you had it, then we might
yeah.
sell a decent amount.
Oh yeah, we'll plan it as we get closer. But I mean, I'd say most publishers, I mean, like a small publisher, when I worked for most of the publishers I worked for, they were doing like 1,000 copies or 1,500 as their first print run normally. Which is great but it just, you have to realize, like, yes, you print them cheaper that way, but you need a place to put them, and you need a place to to store them, and you need that money up front. Right now we're at the point where still every cent that Blydyn Square spends comes out of my pocket, and my pockets are very, very shallow because
Yeah.
I've only been even working full-time for at another job for so long at this point. So it's like, we're building up.
Yeah.
But for a long time there was zero money. So I think the next few books will do slightly larger print runs. It's just,
what's funny about that
trying
is
to find that sweet spot, you know what I mean? Like, where we're not stuck with too many that we can't sell, but where we can get more. Like, if you do 100 copies, you're paying somewhere around $5 a book just to print them.
Right.
Mhm.
That's expensive, because if you're, it's all, you can charge $30 for a paperback book,
Right.
just because it costs you so much to print. So it's just like, that's where we need to figure out the sweet spot, because
Yeah. And it's interesting, going back to what other publishers do. I mean, the publisher, my first 2 books, they published 3,000 each one, but once that was done, they were done. They were out. Their financial model was, we want to hit X, and we're going to look at this as a success. And they don't have the philosophy that you have, that we want to keep selling these forever.
Well, they have the big 5 philosophy, which is
Right.
hit it fast and strong, and if it doesn't sell within 3 to 6 months, kill it.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, but that's that's how a bigger press looks at things, whereas a smaller press says, you know what, we're in this for the long haul. We want to still be selling the same book 10, 15 years from now.
Right.
We're
Wow.
working on, we're getting better. I think that but speaking of which, we need to start thinking of some ways to launch this writing book. So when we have the company meeting at the end of the month, I'm gonna send an agenda out like a week before.
When is that again, Tara?
January 28th.
Okay.
But just be thinking about it now. If you have any ideas, you know what I mean, like where you think we could try to get people to sell it, or what we could do to launch it, that sort of thing. So just start thinking about it now. But
What time is that, Tara?
I have no idea. Let me look on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm going to be away at our corporate
5:30.
office, but I might be able to
Yeah.
join by phone.
5:30 to 6:30 on January 28th.
Okay.
Okay.
And I have already on my date book to like the weekend before, I'm gonna send everybody like an agenda, things to be thinking about. and we're going to do a team builder.
Oh,
That we did at my company team meeting last month. And it was so ridiculous that I was like, okay, I have to do that with you guys. Because it was
wonderful.
We've been going for over an hour. We should probably stop.
I know. I have my class at 7. I probably
Oh,
should.
no.
Oh, you better go.
Otherwise, I'm going to be hammered because I'm sitting here drinking wine.
I know. I'm drinking iced coffee and you're drinking wine.
Oh, and I have happy hour for my regular job tomorrow. So
Nice.
I gotta
Nice.
mellow.
So wait, so what do we all do before we leave? I teach, you know that. I teach high school English. And Tara, what do you do? The educational materials?
I basically edit all the materials I work for IDE Corp. It's Innovative Designs for Education. They do professional development for teachers. So they do all kind like that. Right now they're teaching people how to teach remotely, and like, because they have a whole system where they can even if you're working remotely, it works just as well as if it's in class. So so basically I edit, like, my boss Nancy Sula, who's amazing, writes books, so I help her edit her books. But also I do, like, if they have like a sales proposal going out or whatever, but it's great. I absolutely love it there.
That's
What
great.
about you, Everett? What do you do?
I'm an engineer.
Oh my gosh, really? What kind?
Why? Wow. I've never
'Cause
had
it's
that
so-
reaction.
It's so mathematical.
I didn't say I was good at it. I just said that's what I do.
There you
What
go.
kind? What kind of engineering?
Mechanical. My degree's in
Mechanical.
mechanical,
Okay.
but I work for a company that does they do laboratory equipment for the pulp and paper industry. So
Okay.
yeah, that's the reaction I normally get when I say I'm an engineer. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
What
that's
company is
exactly-
it?
yeah.
Is it?
It's called Technodyne. It's
Okay.
out of New Albany, Indiana.
And Jim, are you in PR?
Yeah, I'm in PR and social media. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to hire Jim. Now he'll be our PR guy. I'll hire you,
Oh,
Jim.
boy.
When my book comes out, you
There you
help me
go.
promote it.
There you go. That's
I've
Yeah.
been talking to Tara about publications and outlets that would be good for Blydyn Square Books to appear in, and for her
Yeah.
to be featured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our next
Yeah.
thing.
That's
Very
what I do.
cool.
We need to get everything out there. So, but that's what we're going to talk about at the company meeting. So
Good. How
Yeah.
many people are invited to that, Tara?
everybody, well, all the authors and Debbie and my mom, but I don't know if they'll actually come. So who else is there? It's Everett, the four of us, Andrea, Richard Maturo,
Coralie.
Coralie, Karen Miller. God, why can't I remember? I have to. Yeah, okay. I think that's everybody. I don't think I have. We have a couple of other people who are working on stuff like longer term that I didn't invite to it yet. But yeah, just us. So we just got to figure out how to start selling the like how to launch this writing book and what and just things that we can do. And we need to really get our social media more coordinated because like this core group, I feel like you guys are really doing a good job, liking and sharing stuff. But we need to get everybody else on board doing it too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
I
with you.
just feel like we're definitely failing there. But like this happy hour is not for us. This happy hour is for outsiders. And we need to be
Right.
getting outsiders to actually come to this. So, it's just a question of figuring out how to do that. So, and I mean, and clearly I paid to promote this on Facebook to try to get outsiders to come. And clearly that did not work. So that's $100 down the toilet. So, clearly we need to figure out how to get more people. So it just
At my job, I don't know many people who write, believe it or not. They don't write. A lot of them
Teachers
don't.
write? Really?
My
I
one
thought every
friend,
teacher was a writer.
no, my one friend, I'm like like weird, you know, I'm lucky if like 5 people in my department read my work, you know, like there's 30 people in my department, and I'd be lucky if 5 people read it. Like there's a guy who's a duty release aide. He's a journalist. He'll read it. Like when I post on Facebook, he's like, great story. Like it's clear he's read it. He's a duty release aide. Yeah, like, yeah, it's bad. They don't, I was surprised and kind of hurt, quite honestly. But yeah, I thought about who could I invite, and I could think of one person, but she's always so busy with work. So that's why I haven't.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I invite everybody pretty much from, I go through my Facebook list every time, and I invite anybody who reads or writes. And so I probably invited about 100 people. And so far we had one person come once, and then we had my other friend came to our book club last week, and that's it. I don't have a whole lot of friends, like a whole lot of actual friends, you know what I mean? Like
Me neither.
sit here, you know, I mean, I sit here, I moved here and I don't have any friends here, you know what I mean? It's really, and the few friends that I do have don't read or write.
Right.
God, that sounds terrible. It sounds
Well, and the COVID thing isn't helping.
well, yeah, that's not
That's
helping
true.
either. So it's just, yeah, it's just hard, but I know
think-
that other people do have friends.
Speaking from the perspective of somebody who does PR, you know, I think my part of the problem, we could talk about this in maybe in January, but people don't really connect with like a publisher. They wouldn't connect with Random House either. You know, Random House had you know, things like this, happy hours, they probably wouldn't come. But if they had a happy hour with an author or an interview with an author who has lots of following and books, you know, then that would be different. But I think the problem is, how do you get people interested, well, as busy as they are, they'll come to a happy hour.
But you know, that's interesting though. It might, maybe you do that. Maybe you do the next happy hour has a theme, you know, and it's the Coralie one, or it's me or whoever, and you invite the same group of people, but you have that, you know, if nothing else, it would be an interesting experiment to see if your numbers increase.
Like if you were going
Right.
to have, excuse me, I'm eating some pizza, a happy hour with like a future author whose book's going to be coming out, and we're going to be talking with him about, or her, about the book and what it's about, and doing a little preview, maybe a 30-second reading, then probably that person's friends are going to come, and people who are interested to know about the book. You're going to get more people because it's more
It's a good idea.
person to person based as opposed to person to institution.
Right.
It'd be easy to test. It'd be very easy to test.
Yeah. Even if you did it through the Blydyn Square Review, like pulling people that have written in there, have them read a piece of it, like a few authors from that review.
Yeah, that's a
Come
good
and read
idea.
some work. And that, because I'm thinking just of myself. Like if I
Right.
were in there, I'd be like, oh, I
Right.
can invite 2 friends from work to do the release date. He might come.
Yeah.
You never know. You
That's
know,
a good
so
idea.
something like
Yeah, for-
that.
When we
Yeah.
actually have some content, that would be that. I think we'll get some
It's
takers
all
for
about
that.
content. It's all about content.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, I gotta go.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
it's good seeing you
So
all.
nice seeing you.
Good to see
Good
you.
to
I'll
see you.
shoot you an email when we're a little bit closer to the meeting, but thank you for coming.
Great.
Sure.
Good seeing you all.
Okay, have a nice night.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.